God spilled a lot of ink in the first 3 chapters of the entire Bible to address the question of what it means to be a man. And he did that not because it's a question you should be asking. He did it because it's a question you're already asking. Hey there, this is Billy Cerveny, and I'm really excited today because I get to do this video. And I get to kick off this series we're doing here at Redbird called Man Enough. And Man Enough is a chance for us as men to step back and ask the question, what does it mean for us to live as men? How did God design us? How do we cooperate with that design? Now, you'd think that this would be an easy question. And the answers to these questions, they aren't complicated, but finding them can be, especially in our day and age when there's so much public conversation about masculinity and gender. The truth is, even the most fundamental and basic things can get really confusing on a good day, including the question, what does it mean to be a man? You see, here's what I know. If I got you and a few of your friends together and we sat in a room and I went around the room and asked this incredibly awkward question, do you think you're man enough? Do you feel like you're a real man? If you didn't laugh off the question and you were able to take me seriously and actually sit in it for a second, it would get pretty unnerving. See, I don't care if you're the manliest man who shaves with a buck knife or if you're into pedicures and show tunes. If you were to really consider that question, especially in front of other men, and you were honest, there are very few of us who wouldn't go into a weapons grade man panic. Am I man enough? I mean, what's enough? Compared to what? Compared to who? And while we're talking about what does it mean to be a man in the first place? I remember the first time that I considered that question out loud. My son, it was about 3 or 4 years old. I was doing some work on this old piece of junk Volvo that never ran, and I had no idea what I was doing, but I'm one of those guys, right? You open the hood, you got to move some wires around on the off chance I'm going to get a Christmas miracle and it's going to run again. 15 minutes in, I'm standing here. I got grease on my cheek. I'm holding a wrench in my hand. I look over and I see my little boy who's standing there looking up at me. And he's got this vulnerable, sweet, questioning look on his face. And for some reason, in that moment, something inside of me froze with this wave of fear. So I brushed it off. But later in the day, I couldn't stop thinking about my reaction until I realized what that vulnerable, questioning look on my son's face was really about. He wasn't asking me how to fix the car. He was looking up at me, and in his own innocent way, he was asking, what does it mean to be a man? And the fear I felt was because I didn't know the answer. What did it mean to be a man? If I didn't know that, how am I supposed to teach my son what it means to be a man? See, that's a question you're not going to hear a lot of men ask out loud unless they have some sort of answer that they're really excited to give you. And we don't ask that question because it rolls us in our insecurities. You see, as a male, you know what it means to be a man in a literal sense, your external hardware, your chromosomes. But try to define masculinity and manhood in a concrete way beyond that. It's kind of like nailing Jello to a tree. It seems like it'd be really easy until you try and it comes apart in your hand. So as a result, most men, we live in fear of this question and asking in any substantive way. So there's a couple ways we react to this. Some of us, we step away from the question by pulling the lens way back and we think about our masculinity in terms of caricatures. John Wayne, Captain America, Bob Ross, pick a card, whatever's your jam. And that's not entirely wrong. It's just not helpful. When we do this, we're just erecting these one-dimensional human yardsticks to measure ourselves and our masculinity against. And we do that, we just end up chasing down attributes and behaviors, trying to become something we're not, a real man, rather than stepping back and developing a deeper understanding of our God-given design of what drives the male heart that you already have when God already made you a real man. And some of us, we reject those caricatures altogether because you've been beaten over the head with them your entire life. And if that's you, I don't blame you. But let me say this, rejecting them altogether can be, not always, an overreaction. There's a lot of baby in some of that bathwater and it's not worth throwing out. We can actually learn something from the right caricatures in the right context but only after we first understand the core longings of our heart. And another way we can live in fear of the question of what it means to be a man is just by rejecting it altogether. And a lot of us do this. What a stupid question. Are we really having this conversation? I mean, I know what it is to be a man. I am a man. I would say that's not a stupid question. Asking what it means to be a man and to live as a man, it's a fundamental question. And you know what? It's not even a new question. In fact, God spilled a lot of ink in the first 3 chapters of the entire Bible to address the question of what it means to be a man. And he did that not because it's a question you should be asking. He did it because it's a question you're already asking every day, all the time. Not only that, it's also a question to which you and the world around you are constantly providing an answer. And most of the time, we're totally unaware of the answer we're giving or that we've been given. So if one of God's first orders of business in the Bible was to tell us why he made men and how he made men and women for that matter too, then we would be really wise to consider it carefully. See, God did this because he knew how we answered that question would determine most everything about our lives, our sense of self, purpose, our sense of calling, what it means to be fulfilled. And he wanted us to embrace his design for us, to agree with it, to cooperate with it. Now, that sounds great, but I'll be honest, there's a huge part of me, there's a huge part of all of us that hates that. My pride says, I'm the one that gets to define what I am, what matters to me, and what my purpose will be. In our culture right now, we do this in some really loud ways. The problem is the artwork. It doesn't get to tell the artist what it is or what it was created to say. The creation doesn't tell the creator why it's made and what its purpose is. So, what does it mean to be a man? And that's what we're going to be talking about in this series, Man Enough. Now, let me say this. I know this is a hot topic right now. I know it's loaded, and it's loaded for a lot of reasons, and a lot of those reasons aren't bad. But let me just say up front what the Man Enough series is not. There's nothing in this to shame you into being more macho. We're not going to put on war paint. I'm not going to do this to convince you of your toxic masculinity or get you to embrace your feminine side. I don't have a political agenda. This is about embracing the holy call and the holy longing of masculinity for all it's worth, to set it free. So you can understand how God hammered you together on his workbench, what drives you and what it means for you to live with a purpose. In order to do that, kind of like we did in the beginning when I was talking about asking you if you were a real man or if you were man enough, we're going to touch on some of the insecurity and some of the discomfort and struggles around what it means to live as men, the ways we fall short and hide. We're going to talk about what it means for us to have what most men can't stand the idea of having, needs. As unpleasant as that might sound, that's the place where we get to experience the realities of Christ, the realities of his grace and the realities of our own hearts. And this is a place he loves to step into. You know why? Because when God created man, meaning mankind, he didn't just say it was a good thing. Men and women were the only thing created in his image. That means the question, what does it mean to be a man, meaning male now, isn't just important, it has eternal significance. You thought the question was hard before, just sprinkle a little eternal purpose on it, right? But here's the point I want to leave you with today. When God made you uniquely as a male, he did it as an expression of himself. There were values and longings and loves and motivations central to God's heart that he hardwired into you. That you would be, as Isaiah 61 says, a planting for the display of the Lord's splendor. And now, because you, as a man made in God's image, your understanding of yourself is going to be directly tied to your understanding of the heart of God. Not only that, God created your masculinity. It's his doing. It's his fault. And if that's true, and it is, then it's not something for which you need to apologize or feel embarrassed about trying to understand or asking questions about or to live according to. Be free here. So let me leave you with a couple questions. The first one's this. How have you defined what it means to be a real man? How did you come to that answer? And how is that or those answers shaped your life? All right. I'm looking forward to this. It's going to be fun. We're going to dive in because that's what you were made to do. And we'll see you soon. Hi, it's Billy Cerveny. Thanks for watching. We would love for you to be a part of Redbird and making more videos like this. Please consider making a tax-deductible donation by clicking the link below.